What is the next big area of your incurables?
The next big area is what I call circulation or movement or exercise. One thing that I briefed on before is it's so important. You can drink all the best fresh organic juices that you can get. You can take the best herbs and you'll get the chemistry of those plants and the nutrients from that juice into your blood. But if you can't get that blood to where the disease or the tumor is, it doesn't do any good.
What do you mean exercise? These people probably can't get out of bed.
And
what
you
do
know
mean
what?
Exercise?
Imagine my foot's there right behind them because they got to get out of bed or they're dead. Okay? This may be the toughest category. You got to get up out of your bed and get moving. If you don't, you're dead. You've got to move that body. Well, the first thing is just, I'm not saying we all need to start out running, a 3-minute mile.
Well, they can't do it.
That's right. Okay, walking. Start anywhere. Get up and start moving. More today than you did yesterday and more the next day. You got to move that body.
I mean, that is possible, what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Even for people with lung tumors, brain tumors, they can walk?
Absolutely. And I force them. And
don't any of your colleagues say you're just being cruel?
Oh, they think I'm being cruel?
They're going to fall over dead trying to walk?
I worked with many doctors and watched them work with people with arthritis, advanced arthritis. Some doctors took a year to help people. Some doctors took 6 months. I saw Pavel Arola get people that were crippled for 30 years with rheumatoid arthritis out of their wheelchair and marching in 3 weeks. And he did it with a lot of yelling, and he put his foot up their rear end. That's the bottom line.
In other words, they had to get out and exercise.
That's right. If you rest, you rust. You got to move it. You got to use it. That increases our circulation.
All right, so you make them do some kind of walking, I assume.
Yeah, walking is a good start. Walking and breathing. Just even if you're walking around your living room, and if you're in a walker, use that walker. But you got to get moving more. Lying in bed is not going to increase your circulation. It's not going to heal you.
Anything else on circulation?
Definitely. I'm a great fan of hot and cold therapy. Later we'll talk about Dr. Christopher's cold sheet treatment, but I use hot and cold showers. If you go through history, you'll find that some of the greatest health centers in the world used hot and cold therapy. And even today, when you go to England and you go to a hydrotherapy clinic, they held me up against a wall last year and put a cold hose up and down my spine. You can go to Montage-les-Bains in France on the border of Luxembourg. You can go to Baden-Baden in Germany.
But isn't that just for people who are tired and want to relax?
No,
we're talking sick people.
That's right.
Here.
You know what it does? It moves blood. It's unbelievable. Let me tell you a quick story. I live at the beach in California, and I was driving down the beach. I saw the commotion. I saw the lifeguards. There was a girl on the ground, and she was in horrible pain. She was screaming. They had already called the county helicopter in to evac her out because the traffic's so bad at the beach, an ambulance can't go anywhere. I walked up. I talked to her for a second. I ran over to the grocery store. I got an ice pack, and I also got a burrito. I put it in the microwave and heated up a burrito. I came back and put that burrito on her pubic bone. I put the ice pack on her head, and by the time the county helicopter got there, she was okay. It's hydrotherapy or hot and cold. Hot and cold is the fastest and most efficient way. And what I did, we forgot about the hot water bottle for painful periods. I mean, that's a shame. That's one of the most effective treatments. Hot, when you apply hot to the skin, you see the blood come right to the surface.
Of course.
And when you apply cold, the skin goes white and the blood's driven deep. If you want to stimulate blood flow to an area, you apply hot and cold and alternate it, and it's dramatic. Better than anything else I know. Better than herbs, better than body work. It's dramatic.
How do they do it?
Okay.
You climb in a shower?
We'll
is it
use
hot?
breast
is it cold?
cancer as an example, or any area of your body that is hurting, an arthritic joint, whatever it is. The best thing is if you have a wand in your shower.
All right, let's say it's breast cancer.
Yeah, you take that wand, and when you make a shower, you're turning on both hot and cold water.
Right.
So now that you've mixed your shower, now reach over, and you're only going to have your hand on the hot, and you turn that hot up a little more to where it's as hot as you can stand it.
All right.
Once it's as hot as you can stand it, then turn that hot off all the way, and now you just got full straight cold on that area.
How much do you alternate? How many
15 seconds, let it go cold, turn it back up and do hot 15 seconds, cold 15 seconds, and do 7 hots and 7 colds, so 14 individual changes. And you do that on the area twice a day. If you're a really good patient, 3 times a day. And that'll drive more blood to that area than anything else you can do. And now if you have the power of the herbs in your body, and you have the power of the juices in your body, and the vitamins and the minerals and the enzymes from those juices and the chemical properties of those herbs, now you're going to get that blood to that area.
Now, you've seen that simple, it seems like too simple to do much good.
Yeah.
And you see it make a difference.
Oh, incredible difference. It's the most powerful tool that I know of that I put in the Incurables program.
Richard, how does a person do whole body showers, hot and cold?
Well, you know, that's one of the best ways, but it's a bit dramatic, and so I just want to warn everybody, you got to be brave and hang in there. But the best way to do this shower is just what I said, but do it for the whole body. Not only the part of your body that you have the disease or the tumor or whatever, but for the entire body. Just stand there, get that nice hot shower going, crank it up even hotter to where it's very hot, and then turn it all the way off.
What is it like? Doesn't that really get people? I've never done anything.
Well, the first thing that you notice is you have almost an involuntary breathing that takes place. You're just like, okay, but hey, there's nothing wrong with breathing. More oxygen. We're always trying to figure out how to get more oxygen into the body. It contracts the diaphragm. Now, if you're a very, very sick person and maybe have asthma or something, easy on that. You know, take it to cool first. But for the average person, if you want, you know, to stimulate that blood flow, hot and cold, and do it over the whole body, and then you might do an additional treatment of the hot and cold on the localized area where you have the problem. But it's one of the greatest ways to stimulate the circulation. There's a few other ways that I'd like to mention that a lot of people don't do, and it's unfortunate, is touch. We need to touch each other more, get some body work, squeeze those muscles and those tendons and move the circulation and the lymph flow through that body. We're not only exercising and stretching and moving to move that blood and circulation, we're doing the hot and cold showers, but get someone to grab a hold of you.
Now, this is something I would guess not normally done with terminally ill
You know, most
patients.
people don't, most terminally ill patients, nobody wants to touch them. They don't even want to touch themselves. I get patients that come in my office with breast cancer tumors that are the size of a large donut, and they've erupted out of the breast. There's a hole in the middle this big around, and blood and pus is pouring out of it. I mean, it stinks. It's messy. It's horrible. I'm not talking just about a little boil here. I mean, these are major cancers.
I never knew tumors could come out like that.
That's right. They come right out of the body, and people don't want to touch them. You have to love that area. You have to love all the areas of your body, especially the ones that are hurting.
So if a woman's got a breast thing, what did you tell that woman?
Well, we put poultices on there, and we'll get into the specifics with breast cancer, but you got to touch that breast. You got to massage it under that arm. You got to get
specifically under that arm,
That's right. Get that blood circulation going. You can't be afraid to touch the areas of your body that are sick. You need to touch them more, and you need to get your friends and relatives to squeeze your neck and massage your legs or whatever it is. You can even do some work on them. We need to touch each other more. And if you don't have someone around, then you have to touch yourself. You have to massage yourself.
Okay.
And of course, for anybody that has the opportunity, get some body work. Go to someone, get a massage, get some shiatsu, get some acupressure.
But don't really sick people normally do that when they get into
alternative
alternative
I find that most
health?
Americans generally don't like to get touched. Okay, basically, now I'm talking about the older group here.
Okay.
Most older Americans aren't used to a lot of touch, and they need more touch. They need more hugs. They need
Certainly
more
this
love.
has no part of traditional therapy.
Oh, definitely not. Pretty much doctors don't touch their patients much anymore unless they have a knife in their hand.
Okay.
I mean, you know, you can hear the heart better through your ear on a person's chest than ever you could hear it through a stethoscope. The only reason the stethoscope was designed was to keep a distance from a patient. You can't hear the heart better with it. The best way is, we got the stethoscope right here. Put that ear on a patient's chest, but doctors don't want to get close, don't want to touch. We've gotten away from it, and it's a shame because it's such an important
All right,
part
so
of
you
healing.
tell everybody who's on the edge they've got to work that part or get their body
stimulate that circulation.
Okay.
Overall, the whole body and the specific
and again, I got to point out,
area.
you're not making general suggestions. When these people come in like that, you are saying this is part of the program.
Oh, part of the program.
They better do it, right?
Part of the program. And I even tell them how many repetitions to do the hot and cold and how many times a day to do it. The last category I'd like to bring up is the emotions. It's such an important part of healing. medicine likes to divide physical therapy and psychotherapy, but the
Right.
bottom line is this is all one unit, and we can't separate it. The French did that with the guillotine, and the body doesn't work well afterwards. The bottom line is the body, mind are one unit, and you cannot have a physical disease without having an emotional dysfunction that goes along with it.
Well, what is typical that you see?
You name it. Depression would probably be the number one, but the first thing is it's important to understand that the immune system reacts and reflects what's going on in our mind. And this is proven now. In medical schools across the country, they've discovered that on your immune cell, they found a receptor for a neuropeptide. Now, all the cells in your body have receptors for different things, chemicals, hormones, vitamins, minerals. But on every immune cell, on every T cell, on every B cell, on the macrophages, they found a neuropeptide receptor. Now, a neuropeptide is the chemical that you create in your brain every time you have a thought. If you think, I'm in love, that feeling that you get over your whole body, that's a neuropeptide. If you feel, oh, what a wonderful day, that's a neuropeptide. If you feel, I hate you, that tingling, that acid when you're mad and you're angry, that's a neuropeptide. And what all the medical schools have discovered is that your immune cells have a neuropeptide receptor on the surface. Therefore, it's been deduced that your immune system is listening and reacting to your emotional dialogue. Now, this is proven science out of medical school
that's
now.
the science, and down at the practical level, what do you do to make that patient better?
Okay, if you're not thinking great thoughts and loving thoughts and healing thoughts...
But that's pretty hard when you're sick.
Yeah, you have to start learning how to do it, okay? It takes practice. Nobody, you know, it's estimated that everybody that has cancer in the prior 2 years to their cancer surfacing had some type of depression or emotional problem that they couldn't deal with or process.
Okay.
And it just ate away at their immune system.
People admit that to you?
Absolutely, and ate away at them. And sometimes at first people say, oh, no, I don't have any problems. Give me 10, 15 minutes with them in my office, and we come up with a bigger list than would fill this piece of paper here. People have emotional problems, and if they don't, I tell them to go home and think about it, and they always come up with them. So the bottom line is we know that negative emotions will cause cancer, will destroy our immune system, will depress our immune system. Therefore, positive emotions will stimulate our immune system. Echinacea on its own isn't as powerful as echinacea with loving, healing thoughts. So it's very important that people on the Incurables program, you know, Dr. Christopher, he used to wake up every day, walk over to the window and go, it's great to be alive. Okay, what is that doing for your immune system when you do it? I felt tingles all over my body right now when I did that. Okay, that's an immune stimulation. Or like, oh gosh, life is horrible. And
I never should have got cancer. I
oh
don't deserve
gosh,
it.
why me, you know, and hating everybody and being jealous and possessive and all the negative emotions cause disease, positive emotions heal. And you know, this is all part of taking responsibility for yourself. I've never seen a farmer plant corn and get strawberries, okay? So if you don't like the disease that you've created, you can heal it, okay? But you've created it. Part of the Incurables program with me is taking responsibility for your health, okay? This disease wasn't just happen upon you. You did everything necessary for it to surface in your body.
What do you do with people who won't follow your advice on these Incurables program? They're sick unto death, but they won't follow it.
Generally kick them out. I kick them out. I just won't work with them. And that's a healing process right there because it makes them think about it. I let them know how important all aspects of this program are in getting well and how it is an 18-hour-a-day job and how they do need to take responsibility for themselves. You know, most people are used to going to a doctor. Doctor, please heal me. I'm an unlucky victim. The Incurables program doesn't work that way. I'm giving people tools. I'm empowering them to heal themselves. I'm not doing the healing. I'm just the educator here. They're healing themselves. And this alone is an immune stimulant. When I see my patients for the first time in their life, they have tools now that they can do. Make juices, change the food program, walk a little more, stimulate that circulation. Just by having programs that they can do that they believe in that'll get them well, That alone stimulates the immune system. Doctors think that the average American is a stupid moron. You know, why bother to talk to them? They didn't go to medical school. Just give them a pill and just listen to me. In fact, if you back a doctor far enough into the corner with your dialogue, they'll go, look, I'm the doctor. I went to school. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the typical response. I'm empowering people. I want them to be the doctor. They're the ones that have to heal themselves. And if they can't do it, they're dead. Because I'm not going to do it, and the doctors have already given up. They have to heal themselves, and they have to get started on these programs.
I want to point out with the incurable programs that even if you can't save someone's life, now Dr. Christopher said this too.
Yeah.
You told me you've taken people who were in a wretched condition, but they died physically without pain and without sores and wounds.
Absolutely.
And it happened very quickly.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, everybody dies. I mean, the eventual end to this physical body is death. So the question isn't dying. The question is living as long as we can, feeling as great as we can. And then when we die, I mean, the worst case scenario would be to die in a hospital around a bunch of strangers, and the last sound we hear is the sound of the pulse monitor flatlining with tubes in both arms and down our throat. I mean, that's a nightmare. No one wants to die like that.
Okay.
I had a man call me many years ago and asked me if I'd come to see his wife in the hospital. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, she has cancer. And I said, how bad is it? And he said, well, the doctor said she was supposed to be dead in April. And they even signed his death certificate and just said for me to fill it in when she died. She's still in the hospital. She's had chemotherapy until they can't do anymore. She's had radiation till it's burnt her skin and her skin is bleeding. She has cancer of the kidneys, cancer of the bowel, cancer of the liver, cancer of the lungs, and she's just sitting in the room smoking marijuana, throwing up every 10 minutes. This was the case. And I said, oh, you know, I mean, I don't like going to hospitals, but I really couldn't turn them down. And I went and visited her. And she was in a horrible way. Half of her organs had been carved into. She had tubes up her nose, down her throat, IVs in both arms, in horrible shape. And she said, is there anything that you can do? And I looked at her and I said, look, let's start at the beginning here. Do you want to die in a hospital? And she said, no. I said, where do you want to go? And she goes, I want to go home. I said, that's it, right now. We're out of here. And I called the ambulance service and we took her home. That's the first start. We unplugged all the plugs. The doctor said she was going to be dead months ago. And we started working. We did everything, the full program we'll talk about later. I had her husband skin brushing her and massaging her with the 3-oil massage, Dr. Christopher's 3-oil massage. Within a couple weeks, that skin that was bleeding alligator hide was soft, supple skin again. Her hair, where she had gone bald from the chemical treatments, had grown back. As the fall came, she was feeling better. Before the holidays, she was up on her feet and eating foods with no nausea. Christmas came, and she celebrated Christmas with all her friends and family, and New Year's came, and they had a big party. And midway through January, the husband called me and said, I think she's dead. And I went to the house, and she was dead. And I was a little nervous. This was many years ago. And I thought the family and relatives were going to be mad. And they came in and they cried and wept, and I cried and wept, and they thanked me. And they said, you don't know how important it was for her to die at home after the holidays with her friends and loved ones, with her skin, with her hair back, not vomiting, with no tubes in her arms and up her nose. And that's dying with dignity. You know, that's the worst case scenario on this program. If nothing else, your symptoms will probably subside, the pain will go away, you'll feel great, and you still might succumb to your illness, but we're all going to die. It's not a question, again, of dying, it's dying but feeling well.
You discovered that the formula Dr. Christopher was using was, for a lot of people in the 90s, not potent enough. Now, how did you discover this, and how did you then develop a new formula?
Well, when I first trained with Dr. Christopher, he told a story about a woman that didn't have a bowel movement for a month. I have to admit, at that point, my jaw dropped. I thought, oh, here's a fish story now. I became a non-believer. But it was shortly after then that a woman came to me, a model, in fact, because I work mainly in Southern California, so a lot of my patients are in the entertainment industry. And a model came to see me, very thin, very slim, had one bowel movement a month with her period, and my jaw dropped again. Since then, I've seen hundreds of people that have only had one bowel movement a month. In fact, the record breaker is a woman that came to me, and in 1993 only had 5 bowel movements.
You're kidding.
No, 5 bowel movements in 1 year.
They must have been big ones.
It was shocking. My jaw dropped again. I usually try to keep a pretty good poker face with my patients, but that one was too much. So we have extreme constipation. You know, in LA, Los Angeles has one of the largest school districts in the world. And in the LA City Health Book that's given to high school students, it says it's normal to have about 1 bowel movement every 3 to 5 days. That's what we're teaching our children.
Now, you told me you discovered this new formula by working on animals. Tell us about that.
Well, many of my patients have horses, and one of my patients called me, had a very sick horse, and I said, I don't know anything about horses, and she says, the veterinarian's here, he says the horse is dead, will you please come? She was crying. So I went there, and the horse was lying down in the stall. It was almost unconscious, and the vet said, it's so far gone, we're not even going to transport it to the hospital for surgery. It's just going to die. And I said, well, I'd like to get some herbs in it. I said, how would I do that? And he said, well, we can tube it. And I said, well, give me a pail of hot water. So I got a pail of hot water, and the first thing I grabbed was a handful of cayenne. And he grabbed my hand, and he said, what are you trying to do? You'll kill the horse. And I said, you just told me the horse was dead. And he goes, you'll burn right through its stomach. And I said, leave me alone. And the owner was there, and she said, leave him alone. So just for him, I put in another handful of cayenne pepper, and I threw in various herbs into this. We tubed it down the horse, and in 15 minutes, that horse was standing up in his stall. His eyes were quite wide open, and he was even nibbling at a little food, and the color came back in his gums. He was out of shock. And the veterinarian was absolutely amazed by this. And within a half hour, the horse was spraying the walls of the stall with the fecal matter. And I had accidentally, because it was my first case, given that horse about 10 times what would have been a horse dosage. But I was computing quickly at the time. And then it came to me at that point, I need to start giving people herbs that were used in the history for horses. In other words, 1,000-pound, a 1,500-pound animal. Because people are that constipated. You know, in the 1940s and 1950s, there wasn't a fast food restaurant selling 50% saturated fat meals on every corner, but there is now. McDonald's and Burger King are on campus in some schools, in some high schools across the country. So we have worse constipation now than ever in the history of the United States. The number 1 cancer among men and women in the United States as a group together is colon rectal.
So you're saying what you found out is some of the formulas that worked for Doc 10, 20 years ago don't work today. And you had to goose the power.
Absolutely.
Up the power.
And he would have done it if he was alive today.
Because he would have found out.
Absolutely. You know, he didn't continue to use something if it didn't work. He changed it. He upgraded it. All great doctors I studied with, Pavarola, Dr. Jensen said this to me many times. They said, take everything I have and keep it going. And keep it going doesn't mean to carve it in marble and look at it for the next 5,000 years. It means to keep it going and keep upgrading it, keep changing it, make it better.
What's special about this formula for getting people with incurable diseases?
It's stronger. The intestinal corrective formula that I use is it's stronger. It's 3 to 4 times stronger than any bowel cleansing formula on the market.
But it doesn't hurt anybody.
No, it doesn't hurt anybody. And it makes your bowels work. And no matter what you think, no matter what you eat, no matter what you drink, and no matter how sick you are, your bowel will move. And that's what I had to develop. And I had to develop something that was strong and effective. For most people, I mean, you can take a lot of these preparations that are on the market, and they're not going to notice anything. Some of them even constipate you more.
Herbal ones?
Absolutely, because a lot of them are bulk formulas like psyllium seeds. And if your bowel doesn't have enough peristaltic action, you can take psyllium seeds till you're blue in the face. Your stomach will bloat out to here, and you'll have to get a colonic because it won't come out of you. You have to increase your peristaltic action, and that's the first thing that people need to do is have more bowel movements.
So when someone comes in and they're in this near terminal condition, for you, that's number 1.
Absolutely. The first thing, everybody walks out with a kit to clean their bowel, period. If they don't want to, I don't work with them. Everybody needs to clean their bowel.
I mean, it's that fundamental.
That's that fundamental. It's the first step, because that's our biggest elimination channel. That's the one where most of the waste is going to be removed from the body, and we have to make sure it's working. Otherwise, in your detoxification or your cleansing, you first won't get the results, and secondly, you can make yourself very ill.
We're going to go all in your formulas in detail, and so let's start at the top with the first colon formula we've been talking about. Why is it different? How is it different?
There's a number of ways it's different. The first difference is it's stronger. Most people use Cascara Sagrada in their formulas, the cathartic herb. And we'll have to look at cathartic herbs. In that category, there's a chemical that's in many plants that actually causes your bowel to move. It causes that peristaltic action. That chemical is an anthraquinone, and the specific one is called amodin. And the amount of modin in an herb depends on how much that herb will make your bowel move. Cascara Sagrada contains amodin, but of the amodin category herbs, it's one of the weakest. One of the strongest herbs in that anthraquinone amodin is aloes. And that's what I used on the horse, and that's what I decided to use with people. Aloes has more amodin in it than any other herb known, and so it's dramatic at how much it will make your bowel move. In fact, in many naturopathic schools, they take a colon of someone who's died, take that colon out, pin it to a table, and put aloe amodin on it, and it makes the bowel move, even though that bowel isn't even in a person. It's a direct chemical reaction between the chemical amodin and the nerve cells of that bowel. So that's why I say I can get anybody's bowel moving. In fact, we had a woman call us her 3-week-old baby was diagnosed with a disease that it had no nerve connection to its bowel. Therefore, its bowel was dead, didn't move, and she said to me, the doctors want to do a colostomy on a baby, on a 1-month-old baby. And I said, ridiculous. We gave her this formula, and its bowels worked. And I know that you don't even have to have a nerve supply to your bowel, and this formula will make you go to the bathroom. That's the bottom line. And so aloes is the strongest herb in amodin. The second is senna. Senna is a very strong herb in amodin, and it's double the strength of Cascara Sagrada. And then I also use Cascara Sagrada. So where the other formulas end, that's where we begin. With the Cascara Sagrada, then we also use the senna and also the aloes. So half of this formula are the strongest cathartic herbs known. And I don't know what people are afraid of and why they wouldn't want to use these
I think they're
herbs.
afraid of ripping up the colon or having
Yeah.
diarrhea. Or...
You know what the biggest question people say to me? They say, will I become addicted to laxative herbs? That's what everybody says to me.
Exactly.
Now, before I even answer that, my first thought is, well, what's the downside of that? $12 a month. What's the downside to being constipated? Colon rectal cancer, diverticulosis, diverticulitis, death. Okay, so first of all, I'd much rather be addicted to herbs than have bowel cancer. That would be my first thought. The second thing is no one gets addicted to these herbs if they make their other lifestyle changes along with using them. So that's one of the ways that my intestinal formula differs from all the other ones on the market, is it's much stronger. And most people who read your newsletter or watch these videos are going to think, well, I've used intestinal cleaners and they
Right.
don't work. Wait. Okay, wait till you use this one. That's all I can say.
Okay, I can say for the record, my own wife, Sandy, has used this. She used Dr. Christopher's regular formula,
Yeah.
but as you say, it's not strong enough for the 90s, and it wasn't. She had to
Absolutely.
start with 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, stop working.
Yeah,
Took yours, she's getting better, her skin tone's better, her moods are up,
absolutely.
just from the colon.
We just, you know, we have to change and adjust herbal medicine and natural healing, not the basic concepts, but the programs to parallel what's going on this planet right now. We're under more stress now than we've ever been in the history of mankind. The planet's more polluted. We have to take that into consideration with our herbal formulas. People are eating the lowest fiber, highest fat diet in this country than ever before in history. We can't rely on bowel cleansers that were designed a half a century ago. They just won't work.
Using this formula, is there anything they've got to know,
Yes.
procedures?
Start with one, okay? Most people, I say, take 30, 40, 50 years to get themselves sick and then want to heal themselves in a weekend. It doesn't work that way. It's not a smart thing to do. And even with the bowel, I know that many people are very ill but start with one. Just one capsule with dinner, and it's best taken with food.
Okay.
One capsule with dinner. If the next morning you don't sit on the toilet and go, wow, take 2 capsules the next night with dinner. And if the next morning, and just keep increasing that way, and you'll reach your dosage. It's that easy. I have a formula I call intestinal corrective formula number 2, which is a different type of bowel cleanser. The formula number 1 is similar to many bowel cleansers on the market. It's designed to increase that peristalsis to get the fecal matter out of your body. That's the bottom line here, is we're trying to get it out. But the formula number 2 is designed to detox your bowel, absorb poisons. And this is very important. Intestinal corrective formula 2 contains bentonite clay. Bentonite clay will absorb 40 times its weight in fecal matter. So it's like putting a clay mask on the face. It pulls out toxins and poisons. I have fruit pectin in it, and fruit pectin pulls out heavy metals, mercury, lead. In fact, they used fruit pectin in Chernobyl after the nuclear accident to get the radiation out of people's bowels. So fruit pectin is wonderful for cleaning out toxic metals that you may have been poisoned with. I have charcoal in the formula, which charcoal is known to take out 3,000 different pharmaceutical drugs. So if you've been taking pharmaceutical drugs, charcoal will get it out of your system. And also look at every water filter made is made out of charcoal, because charcoal is the greatest absorber of man-made and natural pollutants that can hurt you. And so charcoal's in the formula. And with that I add slippery elm, marshmallow, flax seeds, so it's mucilaginous. We're looking at a mucilaginous, softening formula that'll coat your bowel, draw out impurities, including fecal matter, heavy metal. It'll pull the fecal matter right out of a bowel pocket and then get it out of your bowel. And we've called it Herbal Home Colonic because when our patients are done using it, their bowel's cleaner than if they had a series of colonics.
You're not kidding. You're exaggerating.
No, not at all. A colonic is just a wash. You're just doing a wash. The number 1 will not only get your... The number 1's like going to the gym for your bowel, like you were going and doing a bicep curl. That strengthens this muscle.
And you're doing it down here.
Yeah, that won't happen with a colonic. But the peristaltic action that's increased will strengthen that bowel muscle. We need to strengthen that muscle now. There's barberry in it for the liver, although we'll get into the liver formula. But it does much more. There's cayenne in it in case you have any intestinal bleeding, which you wouldn't get in a colonic. So herbal products, herbal formulas can do much more than just a washout. And so we do the first week of the intestinal number 1, and then the second week we continue to do the number 1, the cathartic capsules, and then we add to that program the intestinal number 2, the drawing herbs. And so it's about a 2-week program.
Okay. Now I want to point out, you were talking to me last night, you said like in my case, or people like me that tend toward colitis or an inflamed colon, you might reverse it.
That's right.
Where you take number 2.
That's right.
First.
Only. Anybody that has an irritated, inflamed, aggravated bowel, where they may be having 3 or 4 bowel movements a day, maybe some diarrhea, maybe that the Crohn's disease would be an example, or colitis. They would want to use just the number 2 formula because they're not trying now to stimulate more peristalsis. They want to soothe and clean. So that would be the number 2 formula only.
Dr. Christopher had a liver formula. How was yours different?
Well, we have an addition of a few different herbs, and basically nowadays it's important just to use the best quality herbs that you can get. One of the classic liver herbs today is milk thistle. Milk thistle is world famous now. It's been found the chemicals in milk thistle actually bind to the liver cells, coat them, and protect the liver cells, and so the liver itself, from any toxic invasion, whether that be French fries and fried food and rancid fats and free radicals, or whether that be PCBs and chemicals in the water, or even natural chemicals in nature. It's a shield for your liver. It's amazing what it does. And so even while we're cleaning the liver, we got to coat it and protect it. That's the first
Protect
step.
it while you're cleaning.
Absolutely, immediately.
But is that milk thistle that people can get in the stores, is that as good as what ought to be for critically ill people?
No, you know,
Really isn't.
no, and unfortunately, nothing that we get in the stores is of a quality that I'd want to use myself or give to one of my relatives or my patients if they were
dying.
ill. And it's unfortunate, but most of the products that are available on the retail market are just horrible. At best, poor. And we just need to find products that are better, stronger, made from clean herbs. I mean, imagine, we're talking about a liver formula now. Most of the liver formulas on the market today that you'd find in a health food store are made from herbs from third world countries that are probably sprayed with toxins there and probably again sprayed when they come in. And now we're going to give DDT-laden, irradiated barberry to someone for their liver? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't.
You know, why would we want to use anything but organic herbs or wild-crafted herbs?
So what do you do like with milk thistle that's different?
Well, basically add it in the formula. A lot of people don't have milk thistle in their formula.
I mean, where do you get better milk thistle?
The organic growers. There are numerous organic growers in the United States now. The organic herb business is exploding, and the consumer has to demand organic and wild-crafted herbs. Organic means that basically they're grown organically in a controlled environment on a farm. Wild-crafted means that herbalists have gone out into the fields right here and found herbs and picked them. I only buy also from wild-crafters who don't rape the land and eliminate a whole crop of something, and then they sell that. And so those are the two best ways that you can, the two best types of herbs that you can use. I would never use herbs that have poisons on them.
And how do we use this liver formula if we got a terminally ill patient to deal with?
This formula and most of my other formulas are liquid extracts. I only use one capsulated formula, which is the intestinal #1, and that one doesn't have to be absorbed. It just has to touch your bowel. Liquid extracts are better. They're stronger, they're more concentrated, they get into your bloodstream faster. Unfortunately, most of the herbs used today are used in the form of dry powdered herbs in a capsule. It's very difficult to digest, absorb, and assimilate the chemicals out of an herb like that. It's almost like eating sawdust, because many of these herbs are very hard. They're the roots, they're the barks, they're the berries, they're the nuts. These are very hard parts of plants, and just by swallowing powdered herbs doesn't mean you're going to absorb them. It's kind of like iron. You can take a capsule of iron filings, which is similar to your iron minerals, but that doesn't mean that you're going to assimilate it. It's going in your stomach, and then it's just going right out too.
Well, when you worked with Dr. Christopher and he was curing people who were bedridden, was he throwing a lot of capsules in them?
Sometimes he used capsules, but he used a lot of herbal teas and ointments and fomentations and poultices, and he also used a lot of tinctures, herbal extracts.
Okay, so how much of this do we take? It's a liquid.
The liver gallbladder formula comes with another formula called the detox tea, and I also want everyone to do the liver flush with it. The liver gallbladder extract, a person needs to use 2 dropperfuls. Now, what I call a dropperful is when you stick the dropper in a bottle of herbal extract and you let go of the dropper and lift it up, it'll look like it's only half full. That's what I call a dropperful. If you were to count that, it would be about 35 drops, but who's got the time to count drops all day long? And why pussyfoot around with these herbs either? We need to take them in dosages that are medicinally effective, and most people just don't take enough. So the first step is we're taking 2 dropperfuls 5 times a day. Now we're talking the Incurables program here. That means 60 drops 5 times a day.
Is that more than most herbalists would use?
Oh, absolutely. It's over double what most herbalists would use, and on top of it, this formula has the herbs in them. You know, like most formulas on the market, I don't taste the herbs in the formulas.
Can you taste this formula?
It'll be extremely bitter, so everyone has to be brave here because all the liver herbs are very bitter. Just the bitter taste, when we taste it in our mouth, starts stimulating the liver and will absolutely excrete bile from the liver through the gallbladder.
I mean, that's a reflex.
Just the bitter taste, yeah, a reflex, before we even swallow that herb. So if your liver tonic isn't bitter, get another liver tonic. Liver tonics need to be bitter. We have to get used to that. In this country, a salad is iceberg lettuce and a partially ripe tomato. In Italy, you have dandelion, arugula, chicory, the bitter greens. They stimulate your
So, I
digestion.
mean, they're doing a little bit of liver cleansing when they eat dinner.
Absolutely. You know, if we were to go out in the woods here and sample most of what grew, the predominant taste in nature is bitter. And unfortunately, in the grocery stores, the predominant taste is sweet and salty. So we're just not eating enough bitter. So that's how you take the liver gallbladder tonic, the extract.
What do your colleagues think about your dosages?
They think that they're extreme. They're afraid to give people this kind of dosage. But let's face it, the worst case scenario someone can have from taking too many herbs is usually they'll throw up. Most of nature has built-in protective chemistry and circuitry. And so if you take too many herbs, your body will vomit.
So what do they think? You're killing people with too big a dose or
Yeah,
something?
but you know, I learned this when I started practicing in Asia, because when I first went to Asia and I did some studying and practicing there, you go to an herbalist in Asia and you walk out with a grocery bag full. In this country, someone's going, well, 1 or 2 drops. This is the classic. A patient will come in to see me who is drinking a 6-pack of beer a night, a pot of coffee in the morning, couple packs of cigarettes during the day, thinking negative thoughts, never exercising, and saying, but could 2 cups of peppermint tea hurt me? Do you know what I'm saying? This is what is typical in this country. We have to wake up. If we don't fix ourselves using natural methods, we're going to go to the hospital and we're going to have brain surgery, heart surgery. They're going to saw us in half, or they're going to poison us with chemicals, or they're going to burn us with radiation.
Okay, this second tea now.
Yes.
Tell us about that and how do we use it?
This is the detox tea that's part of this liver gallbladder program. Everybody needs to know how to do a liver flush, and we have newsletter on the liver flush, and it's in the book. People need to know how to do that liver flush, and once you do that liver flush, 15 to 30 minutes later, you need to drink a couple cups of this detox tea. It's a digestive stimulant. It pushes the liver flush through the system. It also has liver cleansers. It's also a diuretic, so it's a full flush for the body. And if you don't drink it after the liver flush could make you feel a little queasy or
Because it
upset your
stays in
stomach.
you.
That's right, because you got a belly full of not only the liver flush, but now the liver's activated. It's purging bile, old cholesterol, stones, and who knows what out of your gallbladder into your duodenum, the lowest part of your stomach, and that can make you feel sick. So this tea is a digestive stimulant. It'll make your digestive system flow. You'll have no queasiness, no nausea. And it also is a liver cleanser and a diuretic. It makes you pee more. That's what a diuretic is. So it's also a body flush at the same
Okay,
time.
there's something real important about this tea that you brought out last night. In the instructions, you say to soak it overnight. I ignored them. My wife didn't, but I did when I read it. I thought, well, that's not worth the trouble.
Yeah.
And then I was making some barberry tea for the liver, and you told me I was doing it all wrong. I thought you could just bring the water up to a boil, throw the herbs in, and turn it off.
Yeah.
But that's not right.
No.
What do you got to know on that?
The 2 types of ways to make a tea are called an infusion and a decoction. And an infusion is what we the way we normally think of making a tea. You take some leaves or some flowers or whatever, you put it in a cup, you pour boiling water over it. That's an infusion, and that's the best type of tea to make for the softer parts of a plant, the flowers, the leaves, generally the flowers and the leaves. The reason is it doesn't take much heat to extract the chemicals out of that part of the plant. But when we're talking roots, I mean, some of these herb roots, when they're dried, are so hard that you can break the blades on a coffee grinder when you put them in. So we're talking very hard parts of plants, roots, barks, tree bark. I mean, imagine it. Berries that are dried. When you're using this type of part of the plant, you need to boil it. You need to bring it up to a boil and simmer it for at least 15 minutes. And it even helps extract the chemicals better if you put it in cold water the night before and let it sit all night in water.
So you would tell people you're critically ill, soak it?
Absolutely. Soak it overnight in distilled water, and we got to remember distilled water overnight, and then bring it up to a boil in the morning and simmer it for 15 minutes. And distilled is very important, and the reason is distilled is empty. And it's just a chemical fact that if you make an herbal tea with distilled water, you'll pull much more chemicals and nutrients and enzymes and everything else out of that herb than you will if you use mineral water. Because mineral water is saturated, it's full.
Okay.
It has very little drawing power, so you get much more of the medicinal aspects of plants if you make your herbal teas and even herbal products in general using distilled water. Kidneys.
Okay.
We also have a kidney bladder program. This is very important. I get many people that have chronic bladder infections and bladder irritation, and they've used antibiotics for years, and the bladder infection goes away, and then it comes back, and then it goes away. And some of these people eventually get one that is so resistant to antibiotics.
Okay.
And of course, this is the problem with indiscriminate antibiotic
So resistant
use.
to what happens?
That it doesn't go away. They use any antibiotic, and that kidney infection gets worse and worse and worse. And I'll tell you, with the herbs, you do the herbs one treatment for 1 week, it's gone.
But how does this apply to somebody who's got a brain tumor taking a kidney tea?
Well, everybody needs to remember, clean and stimulate the elimination organs. You have to get all your elimination organs working perfectly. In this country, we tend to only have two categories we'd fit ourselves in: working and not working. In other words, everybody thinks, well, my kidneys work okay. Well, that's not necessarily true. And many people upon autopsies show all types of gravel and grit and all types of material in their kidneys that was hurting their kidneys from doing their job. Everybody can use a urinary tract flush now and then.
Have you ever seen a kidney on autopsy?
Oh, absolutely.
What does it look like?
Oh, it'll look like a Jacques Cousteau segment. There's even material in there that looks like coral inside the
No
kidneys.
kidding.
All types of amazing contamination in the kidneys.
So there's a valid reason for a cancer patient
Oh, absolutely.
to take care of the kidney, even if they don't have kidney cancer.
Even if they don't have kidney cancer, even if they don't think they have kidney problems, everybody once a year at least, just on a general health program, should flush every elimination channel they have, if not more. But when you are on the Incurables program, you don't take anything for granted. You just assume that you're so sick because every organ and system in your body isn't working, and you go through them one by one and get them
So in other words,
cleaned
you're
out
covering
working.
every base because you know if you don't, they might die.
Absolutely.
Because you forgot one.
Yes.
How is this kidney formula different from Dr. Christopher's?
Well, I used both types of formulas. I use a kidney bladder extract and a kidney bladder tea. I find that they work better together. And in the kidney bladder extract, I use more of the classic herbs like juniper berries and parsley root. I use corn silk. I use uva ursi. All the classic herbs that either make you pee more, which is called a diuretic, or they actually have volatile oils in them that destroy the bacteria that can live in your urinary tract.
Okay.
So they work very well that way. But then for the tea, I like to use foods. Carrot tops are a great kidney cleanser. Watermelon rind and seeds are a wonderful kidney cleanser. I go to the organic markets and I take all the silk, which is the part that everybody throws away.
Wait, the silk?
The silk, the part, the hairs on the corn. That corn silk is one of the greatest diuretics in nature, and it will also disinfect the urinary
When you
tract.
say diuretic, is this causing a person to lose vital sodium or potassium?
Not
Is that
at
what you
all.
mean by diuretic?
Yeah, no, it stimulates the kidneys to do their job better. It just makes the kidneys work more.
Do these terminal patients, do they ever get bad odors from the kidneys from doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it like?
Sometimes their pee is so strong, it smells more like their fecal matter. It can be
Okay.
that bad, absolutely.
Do they ever call you and say your formula is making them worse?
Absolutely. Sometimes they say that it feels like they are urinating flames, okay, because of the
kidding.
amount of acids and things that have built up. And unfortunately, they've probably done too much too soon. But depending on the urinary tract, depending on their condition, it can be quite potent. I've even personally drunk too much corn silk tea, and on urination, I was yelling a little bit in the bathroom. It really burned.
Is that from the corn silk or from something that it's taking out of
It's
your body?
from what it's taking out of your body. It's bringing out
And if you're
acids
reasonably
and
healthy
poisons.
and you're getting this pain on urination from the tea, what about a person who's really ill?
Well, people that are very ill can, especially people who have kidney problems, like we mentioned, kidney cancer, take it easy. I mean, I always try to, I'll go to the side here for a second. Most people think that if we had a scale from here to here, most people think that people's breaking point is about here.
Okay.
I think people's breaking point is about 400 feet in the air. I don't know what everybody's afraid of. I've never killed anybody. I've never seen anybody, you know, die from using herbs. I've never seen anybody get osteoporosis from not using dairy products. All the diseases I see in this country are diseases of excess. People just doing too much of the bad things. I have never seen anybody hurt from natural healing.
Don't some of your other healers think you're just a little too radical?
Oh, extreme. Radical, extreme. They don't even want to look at me in the face when I tell them the stories. But I don't see them working with people with cancer and heart disease and all the diseases we mentioned before.